All right, everybody, back with another one. Today is not going to be a long episode, but we're going to do a little bit of an interesting deep dive into Judge James Boasberg. Now, this is the guy who is constantly blocking a lot of what Trump is trying to do with the deporting of the illegal migrants. We're going to take a look at an article on that to see exactly what the media is saying about this judge and what his involvement is with Trump. And then we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive, surface level, into his background and try and get a better understanding as to why he is doing what he's doing. There's always been judges, at least during Trump's first two terms, his first one back in 2016, and now that have always been trying to block a lot of the things that he's done because they're unfortunately on the side of the opposition and they're working with them, or they think what he's doing is unconstitutional or going against certain laws. So they are going through the, laws and seeing if what he's doing is conflicting, and if it is, or if they think it is, they're making a case to block it. So there's a lot of like judicial lawfare stuff that goes on there. And some of it is justified. Some of it is actually, legal based on the laws on the books that we have currently. But some of it is trumped up, no pun intended, and just sort of trying to find creative ways to block him or delay what he's doing. So we're going to take a little bit of a surface level dive into this judge, and I found some interesting connections that raises red flags and questions in my mind. And I wonder why no one in the media is talking about this, because there are some similarities and even just some interesting, ironic connections that this judge has that can probably go back to, again, the Kennedy assassination. Now, no one's talking about this, and I'm not making this case today. But we'll take a look at it and see if there's something there, at least bring the question to the table and see if maybe people on the internet will either debunk it or further this quote unquote conspiracy theory and see if there is something there. But I sort of believe that we're living in a interesting time. Some people say it's biblical. Some people say it's a time of, just revelation where things are coming out and unfolding before our eyes that we've been waiting for a while. And it's just so interesting that all this is going on at the same time as the JFK files are released and all these connections that we've spoken about, in previous videos. This one's an interesting one. So we're going to jump into an article first to just see, what the media said about the situation between Trump and this judge. And then we'll do a little bit of a dive into his background and go from there. So this is an article about how the Trump admin is seeking emergency relief of Boasberg's contempt threat. So he's trying to hold Trump in contempt of court and doing everything he can to block Trump deporting the illegal migrants. And we can see here, the Trump administration on Wednesday asked federal appeals court to review a lower court order that threatened to hold officials in contempt over March 15th deportation flights. The latest flashpoint in wave of immigration disputes playing out in federal court nationwide. And then it goes on to talk about that situation. So basically, in a nutshell, what it is the judge is trying to block Trump from deporting illegal migrants, saying that he has no right to do that. And then even going as far as saying, go fly our planes back to those countries and pick those people back up and bring them back to America. And the president of El Salvador actually said something really powerful when he was visiting Trump in the White House. He was saying that, actually, J.D. Vance said this, and the president, I think Bukalele was there. He was saying, what would you like us to do? Go kidnap a citizen from their country that they came from and bring them back to America, illegally importing them again like they did the first time. That's illegal. You can't go kidnap a citizen of another country and bring him into your country. That's how you know this is political, because it's one thing if it just happened and the judge was not happy about it and then maybe hit, the executive branch with some sort of, penalty or something and try to make a case about that or I mean, there's really not much you can do because Trump is the president. And as the head of the country, the head of the executive branch, right? Same thing with like a company. You're the CEO, you're the chief executive officer, you're the head of the company. Trump is the head executive in the government. So he's the head of the country. Doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't get the right to create law from, draft the law from scratch and put it out there into the public for us to follow. That has to go through Congress. He doesn't, have the right to like do all kinds of things with the judicial system. People have a right to go through a trial. You can't just arrest people, throw them in jail for life for no reason. That you have to go through a judicial process where they are tried, and then if they're found guilty, then they are convicted for whatever that crime is. But the president doesn't have unlimited power to do whatever he wants. He does, however, have power over national matters, especially national emergencies and things that are homeland security threats, things that affect us in a national way, like the border. The border is a national issue. No one state has power over the border over the federal government. The federal government has the ultimate power on that issue. And there are a few things constitutionally that the federal government does have power over the other states for. It's always matters that deal with on the federal or national level. And so the president has the right to do what he wants in this regard. Constitutionally speaking, I would say, and you would probably have to, I'm probably going to have a constitutional lawyer on here at some point to have a discussion with about some of these things that are going on, because I could see that there's a lot of stuff that's being debated in the government right now, and there's a lot of people that are doing certain things to try and like retaliate with Trump, and they're making their case, and Trump's defending his position. And there are some things that are just constitutionally definitive, and some stuff is not. Some stuff is a little more, we have to figure it out. That's why the judicial system exists, because they interpret the law. This judge is doing interesting things. He's trying to block this this process that Trump has the right to do because he is the president. But then he's also trying to force him to go pick those people up and taxi them back to America. It doesn't work that way. Now that they're in their own country, they are abiding by those countries' laws. America can't just do whatever it wants and fly our planes around the world and go scoop people up in other countries and say you're coming with us to America. That's something that I do disagree with. Some people think because America is the greatest superpower that we can just do whatever we want, but you can't. And if you look back throughout history, any nation that has ever operated that way, it always ended up backfiring on them because the power is always in the number of people over, any situation. Like India and China have 10 times more, citizens than we have in America. If they really band together, they could beat us. But it's because they're, structurally, militarily, or intellectually not able to keep up with America in today's day and age that they cannot beat us in their current circumstance or condition. But, if they did actually decide to, they outnumber us, 10 to 1. So they could do it. But this is just a brief article about that. You can go read this on your own time. There's a lot in the news about what's going on with this stuff. I want to get into a little bit more about who this judge is. What's his background? Where did he come from? Learn a little bit more about him as a person. So we're going to start off with his Wikipedia page. Now, I rarely ever use Wikipedia because I think it's not really a good, credible source of information. It's a little bit too manipulated. People can go in there and manipulate things, and Wikipedia has been known in the past to change details about a person because they want to paint a certain picture about them regardless of what the truth is. But we'll take a look at this real quick. James Emmanuel Jeb Boasberg, that's his name, born in 1963, is an American lawyer and jurist who is currently serving as the chief judge. So the first observation I want to make that's quite interesting, but it's not really anything, and I don't want people, conspiracy theorists, to go off thinking that this means anything. I just find it interesting because I do think there is something to, numbers and words and, connecting to certain things in life. Like everything has a purpose. Nothing happens by accident. And everything is always, according to God's plan. God allows things to happen if and when they will. I just find certain things interesting. I look at them as like clues that, maybe connect the dot, maybe don't. But he was born the same year that JFK was assassinated. So I find that interesting. Now we're going to go further. He was nominated by George Bush. So a lot of people, and especially Trump, is calling him an Obama judge. But he was actually nominated originally by George Bush to be a judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. So he was a D.C. judge that was put in by a Republican president, George Bush. Now, everybody kind of knows that, the Trumps and the Bushes, they're not on like great terms. Just because they're both Republicans doesn't mean they like each other. But, he was originally appointed by Bush and then later by Obama. So, it's not like he's a Obama judge by default, and he always has been. A Republican at one point saw value in him and put him in this judicial position. But we're going to kind of go into, maybe why that was. He served from 2002 to 2011 as the judge appointed by Bush. Then Barack Obama nominated him to a federal judgeship in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. He was confirmed by the U.S. Senate in unanimous vote in 2011. And then Chief Justice John Roberts appointed Boasberg to the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court in 2014. So you have George Bush, who appointed him originally, then Obama, and then Justice John Roberts, who I believe is still on the Supreme Court now, all pushed this judge forward in his career. So it's not like he's just one side or the other. Or, I don't know his politics, but, both sides have furthered his career with him. And then finally, he was appointed to the United States Alien Terrorist Removal Court and designated chief judge. So he is basically like the head of this type of court where, it has to do with removing illegal aliens from the country. I'm not going to go into his personal life like that, but I do want to go into the next phase, which is looking at, because a lot of times I'll look at people and I'll say, well, how did he get that position? Where did he come from? What's his story? I want to look at his father next. Now, this is a site that I trust much more. It's Infogalactic. It's kind of like Wikipedia, pretty much the same thing, except the information tends to be a lot more accurate. That's why sometimes you'll see less information on these pages versus on Wikipedia, because I think more of this information can be verified than some of the other stuff that's put in there. But this is early life and education, so we're just going to look at who were his parents. So Boasberg was born in San Francisco, California in 1963 to Sarah Margaret and Emmanuel Boasberg. The family moved to Washington, D.C. when Boasberg's father accepted a position in Sergeant Shriver's Office of Economic Opportunity, a Great Society agency responsible for implementing and administering many of Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty programs. So his father actually worked in the government. And again, a lot of times, people don't just come out of nowhere. I don't know if it's more common, but there are a lot of people who are in different industries, and you look and say, how did they get to that position? In America, we have freedom. You can, work your own hard work can get you to the top. But at the same time, a lot of times people have been given opportunities by people in their family or friends or somebody that has gotten them there. So it's not always on their own merit. And sometimes you find out that, hey, this person is actually related to this person or whatever. And his father ended up working in this office implementing plans of Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty program. Okay, so he was working on that. So let's take a look. Okay, well, who is Sergeant Shivers? Sergeant Shivers is the guy who gave him the job, was an American diplomat, politician, and activist, husband of Eunice Kennedy Shriver. He was part of the Kennedy family. Shriver was the driving force behind the creation of the Peace Corps, founded the Jobs Corps, Head Start, Vista, Upward Bound, and other programs as the architect of the 1960s War on Poverty. He was the Democrat Party's nominee for vice president in 1972 presidential election. So he was deeply involved in politics. He was deeply into what was going on with the government at that high level of implementing a lot of these programs that have kind of spun off into other things today. And, you see a lot of like this weird bureaucratic programming stuff that they do that's like a waste of money that Doge is uncovering. Some of it stems back to this stuff. But what's crazy is his wife was a Kennedy, but he was working in the government implementing policies of Lyndon B. Johnson. So if you know the rumors, a lot of people have speculated that maybe some members of the Kennedy family were involved in JFK's assassination, but it's also been many people believe that actually Lyndon Johnson was maybe directly or indirectly involved in that assassination attempt as well, so that he could take over the position of president and further the agenda of some of, the people in the deep state at that time. Now, is that proven yet? No. But it's something that many people who are into this JFK conspiracy have alluded to. Now let's take a look at who she was, Eunice Kennedy Shriver. She was a member of the Kennedy family and sister of President John F. Kennedy. So she was his sister. So this guy was married to JFK's sister. He was working in the government, implementing policies of LBJ, obviously, after that point. And he's the guy who appointed Judge Boasberg's father to that position, to working in the government. So now let's go back to James. We'll go a little further. In 2002, he became the associate judge for the Superior Court. We read that already. So this is a court case, one of the major ones that he ruled on April 26th, or is that 26th? Yeah. 2012, Judge Boasberg ruled that the public had no right to view the government photos of the deceased Osama bin Laden. Judicial Watch, a conservative legal group, had filled a request under the Freedom of Information Act, but was unsuccessful at convincing the judge that the FOIA rights outweighed national security factors. So for a while, people were upset because they didn't believe that Osama bin Laden was killed. Now, there have been many people who are on in the CIA and SEAL groups and things like that have said they have seen that they saw the body, or they believe because they knew people who were on the inside that were part of the team that killed him, that he was absolutely killed. That's what people who are in the inside claim. Unless you have evidence otherwise, you really have to just go by that. But there are people who believe that he was never killed, that he was, or if he was, that it happened a while before or a while after. And there's all these conspiracies. The biggest thing was people just wanted to see the body. They wanted to get a picture of the body on the internet to give people who are good at like reverse engineering images and a chance to see if they could find out if that was a real image of the deceased Osama bin Laden or a fake one. And I think the reason that was given was that it was against their religion to do that. It was like disrespectful. That's why they buried him at sea. And so all of this went on, and this judge ruled against giving the American people what they wanted in that. So, it's a little interesting to me. I'm not saying that this is definitive, but there is something interesting about how this judge was born the same year JFK was assassinated. His father worked for a department or group in the government where they were implementing policies of LBJ and doing all these like social programs. And people believe that Lyndon B. Johnson was involved with the assassination, as well as maybe some members of the Kennedy family. And that's why when Trump, maybe why when Trump said he read that, and once people find out the truth, they're going to be really upset. It's like really, not good what happened, because I don't think it's so much about LBJ. I mean, yes, definitely that too, his own vice president, but also if it's members of his family that were involved in the assassination attempt, that's going to be earth-shattering that his own family could do that. Not to mention to RFK, finding out that maybe members of his family, that some of them, their descendants might still be living today, or even them, were involved in this, could be earth-shattering to him. So I think that is part of the reason why they're keeping that stuff. But this guy, this judge, was born the same year as that. His father was technically kind of working for LBJ, and he ruled on things in the past that were blocking the truth from coming out. And this is one of the biggest things, was the Osama bin Laden. People wanted to know that he was for sure dead, because it felt like a sense of victory. Like, okay, great. They bombed us. They attacked our buildings and did something that devastated the country, especially in New York. And we got them back, and we retaliated and won. People wanted that closure. And for them, this judge to deny the people that over, respect of the religion of the enemy is disrespectful to Americans, or at least that's how Americans have viewed it. So this judge is kind of interesting that he's this type of guy. He's trying to do these things that go against what the American people want. He's ruling on things that go against what the American people want. And then they came out with the Freedom of Information Act, and he said, no, this is a national security issue, but there's nothing that you're securing because the bad guys have already been taken out. This is just giving the American people closure. And he ruled and said, no, we're not giving you that closure. So there's something fishy going on here. There's something where this judge is tied to, other members of the government. Some of them might be rooted back to the JFK assassination itself. And, who knows, maybe his family line goes back to being involved in that whole thing, and that's where he got to this position. Or maybe he's trying to continue on the agenda that LBJ and people like that had at that time, and that are trying to defy what Trump is doing. I don't know, this is not definitive. This is just me speculating and diving a little bit into this stuff and seeing that there are some interesting connections here. This is not just some random judge who grew up in the Midwest and then, came to DC and worked his way up as a lawyer and then eventually became a judge and then eventually became a superior judge. He is a guy whose father was directly involved and linked to the Kennedy administration or the LBJ administration. So there's something fishy going on here. And there's a reason why this judge is blocking Trump and this whole deportation thing, which he has every right to do, meaning Trump has every right to deport these people, especially if the president considers them a threat, national security threat to this country. He has the right to do that. And by the way, illegal migrants, which all people who migrate without going through the proper channels of, becoming an American citizen, you know, filing for, whatever it is, green card or whatever, visa, anything, if they don't go through those proper channels and they come to this country, they actually have no rights. They're supposed to adhere to our laws because if they break them, we have the right to imprison them and treat them like any other criminal or deport them back to their country. But they have no constitutional rights. They're not Americans. They're not actual Americans. Therefore, they don't actually qualify to receive the same rights that we receive. So this judge has no right to block this, even if he's saying it's to protect those people because they have rights. They actually don't have rights. They're not Americans. They came here illegally. Even if they did it on an asylum program, the president has the right to reverse that and change that and tailor it to what he wants based on what he believes is the current situation at that time. If he believes they're a national security threat, he has the right to deport them. Now, the other country that they came from, they don't have to accept that person back. They could say you left this country, you lost all your rights to be a citizen, but these countries are accepting them back because they want to, play well with Trump because they see how powerful he is. So if they're accepting them back and Trump is, you know, exercising his rights as the president, this judge has no right to be blocking this stuff. I would love to see, otherwise look into the law and see, how what he's doing is right, but it seems like it's not working. But I wonder why this judge is doing all this. Why is he fighting so hard? And it's one thing if you say, well, we need to keep these people in the country because they're going to be the voters for the next election in the midterms when we need to get the Democrats back in the government. But you're fighting so hard for something that's a lost cause. Why would you do that and expose your position? You're an older guy, you're a judge. Why not just go off silently into the night, continue out your term, and you know retire, get your pension and all that stuff from the government, and live out your days. You did the best you could to fight for your side while you were in there. Why expose yourself now and risk losing it all? He could be disbarred for some of this stuff, depending on how far this goes. But um, the only thing I can think of is that somebody has something on him and they're holding him accountable to fulfilling their will because they helped him when he needed it, so he's going to have to reciprocate, right? Quid pro quo. I don't know that for sure. I'm not making that accusation. This is all alleged. I'm just saying based on what I'm looking at here, there's some sort of interesting connection that I think we're missing as to why this judge is doing what he's doing and who is it that he's working for and why is he ruling on these things to block the American people from getting the justice and the closure that they deserve, that they rightfully have? Something's happening here. But anyway, that's it for this video. Just wanted to do a quick one, probably less than 30 minutes, just taking a little bit of a brief look into this and see what's going on here. Maybe everybody on the internet could take a look into this and see if they can find more information, dig a little bit deeper. But I find something a little bit fishy about this. It just kind of piqued my alarm, and I just wanted to see if anybody else was seeing this as well, because I don't really hear anybody talking about it. Now, it's a little, uh, vague, and I get that. It's not really much here. It's not like, definitive hard evidence, just something fishy. I just wonder if anybody else in the conspiracy part of the internet is talking about this. And if they are, feel free to, chat, put that in the comments. Let all of us see what more information we can find on this, where we can look, who's talking about it. I'd even love to have a conversation with them and go from there. But let's see how this unfolds. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and keeps the channel growing, which is actually going great. Happy you all are here, and hope to continue to put out great content for you guys. Let me know in the comments things that you'd like me to make videos on, and I'll be happy to do that. And don't forget to watch the ads at the end of this video in case there is a need for any of these things for you, whether it's the children's book that I wrote. A lot of people are having kids these days, a lot of millennials and some Gen Zs. It's a wonderful children's book, has great reviews online. Many people have, commented on how good of a book it is and how it's not really that common to see a children's book like that today. It's actually very unique to what's on the market. So take a look at that. Buy the book. It's very cheap. It's on sale right now on Amazon and many other places, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, pretty much mostly anywhere you can get books. Don't forget to check out the other stuff too, the apparel shop, the Amazon storefront, a lot of things that we have that we recommend to people that will hopefully make your life better. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son. And it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now. And like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throw in your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two, and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms: Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post, and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future, and I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.